Okay, so welcome to this interview, to this workshop here in Curicó.
Thank you.
Paulina Bravo. You mentioned in your presentation some ideas about Professor Tracy Garrett. Okay, so those were the 3 C's. Is that right?
Dr. Tracy Garrett is
Yep.
an expert in classroom management in general, right? And she defines this concept of classroom management as a process of some tasks that we as teachers would have to bear in mind before we start teaching. And in order to have like a very successful process, we should also consider these get students engaged, because classroom management can be summarized with student engagement. And in order to get our students engaged, we should follow those 3 C's: connection, consistency, and compassion.
How about compassion? Because you refer something interesting about that.
Yes.
What does it mean, really?
Yes, it doesn't mean that we have to be our students' parents. That is not the idea, because they have their parents, right? But it means that when our students are at their worst level in terms of content, in terms of cognition, in terms of their social and emotional competences, we have to be at our best to embrace those issues and show that our students that we care not just for them to learn English, but we care because they're human beings and we are working with human beings.
Okay, and also you mentioned something about that teachers, let's say best teachers, can create solid relationships with their students when they know how to solve or face those challenges that we have in the classroom. What's the idea of that? Okay.
Well, the idea is that we have to be prepared for everything that appears or that happens in the classroom. In that way, what we are going to be doing is not just address an issue of discipline, but we're going to be helping these connections or these solid relationships with our students. When you make a connection with a student, that student is going to be more engaged and more motivated just because, not
Okay,
because it is
I
English,
see.
but just because it made a connection with you as a teacher.
All right, I see. And finally, well, you mentioned also something of the mixed ability class.
Yes.
It was part of your presentation.
Yes.
Can you summarize something
Actually, well,
about
that
that?
comes now in the second part of the session.
Okay.
That when we talk about mixed ability classes, we know that today a mixed ability class can have a variety of students. Students with different levels of English, students with different levels of cognition, students with different level of their development of social and emotional competences. So as teachers, we have to deal with a lot of things in the classroom, not just teach English, right? So when we tackle this topic of mixed ability classes, I'm going to give teachers a couple of ideas and strategies to work with mixed ability classes without the necessity of preparing extra material or working with someone else in the classroom. There are things that they can actually do very simple in the classroom to work with mixed ability classes.
All right. And how about the new trends in language teaching? How about that? Because we're thinking about, in some way, okay, for example, humanistic approaches. Okay, so what can you say about that?
Well, actually, for us as a publishing house, it's very important to take that into consideration. Actually, it's also part of like our pillars as a company. And we also try to transmit that in the projects that we create. And I'm going to tell you something in advance. I'm going to share some news with you. Like, I'm going to go off the record, but
Okay.
we have some new projects for next year that are very aligned to the new trends in education. Especially, for instance, when we talk about how to teach to students the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations, for instance.
Okay.
What are the topics that students need to know now that are going to be the adults of the future? These students are going to be the adults of the future, and they are going to be in charge of try to solve issues like poverty, issues like lack of water in the world, for instance. And those are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we have including those topics in our series because we truly believe that we are not just teachers of English. We are working with human beings. We're working with people. And we have to show them what are these problems so they can solve them or try to solve them in the future.
That's
and
interesting,
there is a
really.
connection there with English language teaching. So it is going to be very, very interesting.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And in a few words, what do you expect from this workshop here in Curicó at the Instituto San Martin, for example, today?
Oh my God, I was very excited to come again because
Yeah?
I had so much fun last year and I was very excited to come back
That's
this
right.
year.
We remember
you are
that.
Wonderful hosts,
Okay.
so we really appreciate and I really hope that, well, my biggest hope is that teachers have fun, that they can enjoy this session, and especially that it can be something useful for their classrooms.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.